Okay, well, I'm back here at this job. If you watched my last video, you'll know that I came to do a service call for a bad bladder tank. So I'm back here at the job to replace the bladder tank and install a filter. All right. So the sad thing is this tank is only about 4, maybe 5 years old, but it's bad. So if you have a bad bladder tank, the first thing you want to do, just simply knock on it. A good tank is supposed to sound hollow and ring like a bell. That's got a thud, so it's full of water. A good tank has a bladder seam right here, and the bladder inside the tank is just a balloon that fills with water, and the upper portion is always full of air. So this up here should never have water in it. Only the bottom 1/3 theoretically fills with water. It's where the balloon is, where the bladder is. Water enters here, swells the balloon. The air pressure in the tank pushes against the balloon and forces the water back out whenever you open a sink. That's how they work. They just cycle in and out of the same pipe. Now, the very easiest, most easiest thing you can do if your tank was good, you simply try to tip it side to side. A good tank, you can tip easy because it only weighs about 50 pounds, somewhere between 20 if it's low on water and 50 if it's full on water. If the tank is bad, it's going to weigh anywhere from 160 to 200 pounds because we're talking 8 pounds a gallon, 20 gallons, 160 pounds. So, plus the weight of the tank. So, this thing, you can't budge it at all. The third thing you want to do if you have a bad tank, come up here to the top where you have your little air valve. This is how you can add air to your tank. You simply press it. Only air should come out. If water comes out, you know you have a bad bladder. There it is. Every time the pump kicks on, it's squirting it out. See? Okay, so I was just doing that to show you that's what you'll get. Now some tanks, if they have a pinhole in it, they'll do like this. They won't give you a lot of water. Other tanks, when the bladder inside ruptures completely, no problem. It'll squirt out water every time you press on it. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up here, pull the main disconnect. You may not have a main disconnect like this. You may have a breaker. You have to find your breaker. Typically it's going to be a double pole 20. And then because this is all PVC, we're going to update everything to a brass tank T and replumb this. We're going to take out this laughable style water softener here. That thing is way too small. It's not doing anything. And then we're going to tie right in here to this PEX pipe, and we're going to mount us a filter somewhere in here. So I'm going to go ahead now, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a drill with a drill bit. We're going to drill some holes in this to allow it to drain out and vent. So drill you a couple drain holes and then drill you a couple vent holes. Mike, will you go around right around the front
and get a hose?
Right where she was at the front corner of the house is a spigot. Just open that spigot. That's all you need to do. Okay. Before I get wet, I need to open up a spigot. All right. So you hear it? Hear that air? You're not supposed to hear that. So he's got the faucet, and the air I had pumped in there previously is trying to push out of the pipe going out to the outside faucet. So this is helping me drain the pressure to where when I drill my drill bit, I don't get all that spraying on me. It's sad that the tank only lasted like 4.5 years. It's supposed to be more of a quality brand tank, I would think. But so some tanks, you got higher quality tanks and you got lower quality tanks. So you go to Lowe's and you see that they have a $190 tank, or they have a $220 tank. And then you go online and you research and find that Well Extrol or Champion sells a bladder tank, same exact size, for $140 more. Now, you're going to say to yourself, why wouldn't I buy the one that was cheaper? It's just a metal tank with a bladder inside. But it's not. There's a couple differences. So some of the cheaper tanks used recycled rubber. The more expensive tanks used virgin rubber, which are, you know, brand new non-recycled rubber. So those tanks are going to last longer because the rubber's not recycled. Now, a second thing is the more expensive tanks, where the bladder goes around the tank right here, the balloon has a plastic donut ring around the balloon, around the bladder. So when the bladder swells and fills with water, it doesn't contact the inside of the tank. So the rubber of the bladder doesn't make any sort of friction as it swells and deflates and swells and deflates. It can't push against the metal and tear a hole in it. And that's what I believe typically happens to the cheaper brand tanks, is that they wear a hole in the side of them from rubbing against the metal of the inside of this tank. Because the ones that have the plastic liner, we have 2 of them in my father's house that are still original 1994. So they're going on 30 years old and they're still kicking it. So let's go ahead, drill us a hole in the bottom, one in the middle, and then one in the top. We're gonna drill right here. There it goes. Yeah, look at the discolored water that's coming out of that thing. Look at how nasty that is. See, it has not been self-cleaning. A bladder is supposed to be able to self-clean. And it's not been doing it. That's the stuff, the reason why I came here. She said she was having discolored water. Well, look at it all. Thankfully, there's a drain in the bottom. All of this water is gonna flow over there to the bottom corner where the drain is. Unfortunately, there's no other way around this. You can't take this out over top of all this plumbing when it's 200 pounds. Okay. It's gonna finish draining. All right, so I have one hole drilled right here and I have my other hole drilled right here. Sometimes you gotta drill 3 or 4. But next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and cut right here. This should also be an area for it to drain. Now we're gonna get some back from the house, I assume. Maybe not. There's a check valve in the line, so we don't have to worry about that. Now let's see. Your tank is still kind of heavy. Still kind of heavy. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just break this off. Get that out of my way. And then I'm going to tip the tank over. Oh! This should help it drain some. Try not to break any of their drainage pipe. Oh, yeah. Okie dokie. Man, that is some nasty water. I can understand why they thought they needed a liner.
Typically, the first signs of a bad bladder tank is either going to be surging water pressure, where you'll notice it being high and low, often in the shower, or you'll notice that your water has become discolored all of a sudden.
Cool. You might have to lay it over on those holes where it'll continue to drain. We don't want to. Yeah, that's exactly what she was getting in the bottom of her toilet and on the bottom of her bathtub. A tank should not do that. A tank should self-clean. Yeah. A tank's supposed to fill up the same spot that it gets rid of the water. So even if it fills up with dirty water, it's going to push that dirty water out as soon as you open a sink. You shouldn't randomly get clean water and then dirty water when the pump kicks on. Typically when people tell me something like that, my first thought is always, how old is your tank? Oh, guess what? I hear their water heater talking. Yeah. I hear their water heater talking. There we go. Okay. Water heater's off. Typically that's not a problem if it's lower than the system. Okay. gotta be ready for everything. I'm gonna show you all this. This was crazy. Oh my god. Okay, let me show you this. You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff I find on jobs. All right, so you got your switch, right? You got your wires. So this was your one of your 240 legs. That's your neutral. And look here, they had stripped it right there. And what was crazy about this, it was like this. I'm surprised that wasn't grounding out. It was so close to the ground when it was you can see like the natural curve in that wire. It was just like that. Yeah. It was barely missing it. Almost short to ground. Almost a short to ground. All right, so luckily I've got enough wire coming down. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put a Romex on this side of the switch. And then we're gonna use this for this over here because this has got flex conduit on it. But what I have to do is I have to cut these leads off and strip new ones. Luckily I'll have just enough left, but this goes over the flex. Alrighty, so we're just going to take the Romex ring off. Slide these wires through the switch here, bend them up, slide the nut back on, and then somehow get lucky and get this thing to start. These are the things a pain in the butt to start sometimes. Alright, so we're gonna need the shortest one to go nearest to itself. Okay. It doesn't have to be gorilla tight. It just has to be a little tight. Okay, now the switch theoretically is done. Now I have to take a magic marker.
Zoom in right there.
Yep, there we go. Okay, gotta take a magic marker. And we gotta paint our white wires black. That indicates to this being a 240 volt system per code. Okay, on to the next step. All right, so I've got my female all pipe doped in, and I've got my PEX male all pipe doped in. What I like to do is just tighten this hand tight, as tight as you can get it with your hand, and then take your channel locks and do 1/2 revolution. So we're gonna go 1/4 and 1/2, and we're good. Any more than that, you risk cracking this. Now I like to use the ones that have a stainless steel band on them, but these are special orders. This is $7 fitting right here. So you're not going to be able to find one of those, but what you can do, you can get a schedule 40 fitting like this, and you can put you 1.5 inch stainless steel band clamp over it and just tighten it, and it will help hold resistance against the female thread and help prevent it from cracking. That's like the cheaper way. Now these over here are brass. You can tighten them down pretty good. Now all we have to do, I'm gonna go ahead, this pipe here, I'm gonna go ahead and clean it, and I'm gonna basically cut it a little lower, put a bell here, give me a new riser piece, make it a schedule 40 because this is thin wall PVC, and then I'm gonna come over here and we're gonna do a 90 right here. Now I want to show you a little trick. We're talking about PVC. If you're plumbing with PVC and you use your cutters and you cut the end, you have a sharp lip right here, okay? It's only around this piece that you cut. When you go to put your primer and then your glue over top of this and you go to push it in, that really sharp edge right here will take your glue that's inside your socket and it will squeegee it away, and it will not allow it to bond because it had that knife edge right there that basically pulled the glue away from the joint itself. So what I like to do, you can use a pocket knife or any blade. I like to take a blade and just chamfer the edge. What I do, I just take it on my leg like so. And every time I cut a piece of PVC, I do this religiously. Because I have dug up probably 15 to 20 water leaks in my life that my grandfather back in the 90s never used to do that. And when he would cut the pipe, he would have that lip and he would glue it. 15, 20 years down the road, when I became of age, I had to dig up the water lines, and guess what happened? They unglued themselves. And all I had to do was cut it off, prime it, re-glue it back together, give it about 10 minutes, and then boom, it was good. But I've fixed like 15 or 20 of those. All right, now, so far, we've got our PVC, our inlet pipe hooked up. We've got our pressure switch hooked up. So we are done with this part of the equation. We have also removed the water softener that used to sit here. It's now over there. And this is our ingoing pipe to the house, which they have a SharkBite 90 on it. I'm not sure how I'm gonna hook this up yet, but I have to find a place to mount the sediment filter. That's what we're gonna work on next. Now, this is the sediment filter that we're gonna be installing. If you install something like this, understand that there's an in and an out direction. Be sure not to install it in reverse. I took the liberty of packing everything I'm going to need to install this. I've got a driver, I've got a 13 mil. These come with the kit for the bracket and my washers, and I also got me a drill bit for a pilot bit. So we're going to take this. There's not much room for us under here, but we're going to mount it right here like this, right next to the tank. I really wanted to mount it here on this block wall, but the problem with it is it's deceiving. So they broke cinder block out here at the corner that pushes it out, so it's not really a flat wall. See that? But I thought about mounting it to the wall. I just can't. It doesn't give you enough room for the can. It doesn't stick it out far enough. So we're gonna mount it here. Unfortunately, there's like literally nowhere else to mount it. It's so much stuff in this area. Got the filter all mounted. I could only use 2 holes, but they're big lag screws, so it really don't matter. She's really rigid. It'll be fine. The higher I go up, the more room I lose. I needed more space. So I like those brackets because they're that big. Well, it has been about 6 minutes and I have got this all plumbed up. I'll show you what I did. Came out of the tank, came over, came up, I put a valve, did an elbow where I mounted my filter, did a quick little elbow over here, elbow again, and then I just brought it around the back side and another valve, and then back into their SharkBite, which goes to their CPVC. So when it comes time to changing the filter, all you have to do is shut the valve off, press the little red button a few times, get the pressure to relieve out the can, and you got to get the big giant wrench. That's why I like these filters, these big giant wrenches. Just bam. I went ahead and I put silicone grease, and they have dual O-rings inside of here, but we're not going to take that off because I'm filming with the other hand. We're going to take it and just bump it, okay? And then we're gonna go ahead and open this, hang our filter wrench on it. Got that on. Next step, got everything cleaned, more or less. Now, it's time to energize the system. Which way does that go? Yeah, they're missing the safety plate in here. Okay, system is on and running. Okay, we're good here. I hear water going everywhere. It's expanding, it's making a funky noise. All right, now I can go back over here and turn on, howdy partner. I can turn back on their water heater. good to go there. They crammed that in there, didn't they? Good deal. We are all set. Here's your water filter.
Oh yeah, it's a big one, ain't it?
Yes, sir. I'll put you a medium-sized one in there rather than the small one.
Okay.
That way it'll last you a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Cool, it pumped up and cut off.
You got a valve.
I had the homeowner stop in, so I had to talk to him there for a quick second, but he's gonna go ahead and get his wife, have her come under here so I can teach her how to change the filter too. But other than that, we've got it all pretty much wrapped up, and it's time for us to get on out of here. So that's gonna be it for the end of this video. Thank y'all for watching. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace. Looks good to me. So the video that you just saw was shot about a month ago, and I just finished replacing another bladder tank today, and I wanted to show you a little bit of difference between this one and the one that we just did. Now, I did not have permission to film on this job site, so that's why I was unable to film there, but I wanted to show you what I found, which is absolutely crazy. So here is a boiler drain that they had underneath the house. This boiler drain had been leaking for a very, very long period of time, if you can tell by the amount of buildup and corrosion around it, even all the way on the bottom of it. Now, I believe this is all like scale buildup due to hard water or whatnot, but that was not the main issue. The main issue here was the amount of iron bacteria in the water that had started to plug up the inside of all the plumbing fixtures. Now, it was a whole lot of unnecessary plumbing here, and what I did on the job, I went ahead and basically knocked it all out and simplified it and replaced as much of the plumbing pipe as I could. Basically everything related to the incoming water through the tank, outgoing water, all the way to the water filter. And this was the Quest, the polybutylene that I had cut out and replaced with PEX. Now, if we look at the inside of that, this is 3/4 inch pipe, and the inside diameter of this is only about the diameter of a pencil. And the customers, they were complaining about very low water pressure on the hot and the cold water side. Now, what I had been to this house a week previously, and I had dumped a bag of chlorine in the well, and I also did a camera on the well to see, you know, we originally were there because of dirty water, and they thought that the dirty water was coming from the fact that they needed a well liner. Now, they in fact did not need a well liner. What it all boiled down to was it was a bad tank. And the pressure tank is supposed to be self-cleaning. It's supposed to allow water in the same direction water leaves. So if it brings in any sediment, it then pushes out that sediment. Well, the bladder tank here behind me, it's a horizontal tank. So all the sediment, as it was building up in there, it was building up from the bottom until it reached the port on the other side, which is right here. And every time the pump would kick on, water would rush in, it would stir up all this buildup that's inside of the pipe here, and then it would send it into the filter. Some of it would get through the filter, it would build up inside the hot water heater, so on and so forth. So when I originally went there, I spent 2.5 hours going to every faucet and every valve and every strainer on every sink, even the bathtub heads, because the gentleman, he was 84 years old, he had Parkinson's disease, and he was not able to do any of this stuff that you know, he very simply could do in the past. So I took the time, spent a large portion of my day there, taking apart these fixtures, cleaning out the strainers to where the sinks would run again, the shower heads would run again. He had one of those bathtubs with the door on it that you can get in and sit down. I don't really know what they're called, but you see them on infomercials. So he had one of those, and the water inlet didn't really push out much pressure. The shower nozzle wasn't very, you know, productive. He said it took him about 2.5 hours to fill that tub, and it would take like 15 minutes just for hot water to reach it. That's how slow the plumbing was. But because I had put large quantities of chlorine in the well, and I spent a lot of time flushing it through a hose on the other side of the house to get the water velocity up to try to flush this stuff out. It improved. Now, I went back today, which is a week later, and they explained that their water pressure is great. It's better than it has been in the past few years. That was before I replaced the tank. So literally adding chlorine helped kill some of the iron bacteria and helped it release from the pipe. Now, I went there today to replace the tank, and as soon as I cut open the plumbing, I saw how bad it was. So then I knew it wasn't just a simple tank replacement. It was, let's replace as much of this Quest, as much of this polybutylene as we can to get rid of this blockage in here. And after I did that, that really increased the flow rate inside the house, and it made it a lot better. But it was funny because the gentleman, he still has his wits about him, but his daughter is 66 and she's taking care of him. And he told me something that I really appreciated. He said, me and him were standing in his master bathroom, and he had said that he had another plumbing company come out there 5 different times. And he said that I had done more for him in 3 hours than another plumbing company had done in 5 different trips. And then that he appreciated that. So it made me feel good. But sometimes when you run into a situation where somebody can't do for themselves and you have the ability to do, it's your obligation to do. It really is. It took a few hours out of my day and just a few hand tools, but something like that for him was overwhelming. And for the other plumbing company, who I know, I'm not going to name, and they have been out there like 5 times, to not take care of these simple things is kind of sad. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. These videos can't be made if y'all don't hit that thumbs up button. Y'all are the sole reason what feeds the algorithm on YouTube. So if you don't drop a comment, and if you don't hit that like button, if you don't ring the bell to get notified, my videos don't get pushed out. And it's just, you know, it just takes so much time out of my day to make videos, edit videos, and publish videos. So all I ask from y'all is to smash that like button and drop a comment. I will see y'all on the next one.